So good afternoon. I want to welcome everyone to today's Middle Mile Broadband Initiative outreach and engagement session. We really appreciate everybody joining us this afternoon. As for those of you who are joining us, please know that this session is being recorded. So want to make sure that folks are aware of that. Over the course of today's session, we will be providing an overview of the Middle Mile broadband projects. This includes the use of uh, job order contracting, and construction manager general contractors. There will also be networking opportunities to support engagement between prime contractors and subcontractors, including small businesses. Um, and with, whoops, pardon me. So just before we get started, I would like to cover some logistics. Um, I'm sorry, my information keeps jumping off the screen, so I apologize for that. But starting off some logistics. The virtual venue today is WebEx, so it is similar to other online meeting applications that you may be familiar with, such as Zoom, MS Teams. It does have features including Q&A and hand raising. There's also the chat feature. I just want to remind folks, panelists and presenters and participants, to please be sure you're muted if you're not speaking. Attendees, you will not be able to unmute yourself. So if there are questions or as we move into the breakout sessions, if you need assistance, please raise your hand and we'll be able to unmute you. Again, you are all invited and welcome to use the chat and the Q&A features. So please use those tools. The Q&A boxes may be found along the bottom right-hand side of your screen. If you don't see those features, you'll find them by clicking on the triple dots, which show more options. There will also be opportunities, as mentioned, to answer questions at the end of, towards the end of the meeting and throughout the meeting. So to share opening remarks, we're pleased to have some folks here from California Department of Technology, Mark Monroe, who is the Deputy Director for the Broadband Middle Mile. We also are pleased to have Caltrans Director Tony Tavares. So with that, I will hand it over to Mark to start off our opening remarks.
All right. Thank you very much, Adriana. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. I know Director Bailey Crimmins would have liked to be here, but had a conflict. But thank you all for attending this Middle Mile Broadband Initiative, or MMBI Outreach and Engagement webinar. I am Mark Monroe, the Deputy Director for this Middle Mile Broadband Initiative here at CDT. There's a sobering statistic that many of you have probably heard, that 1 in 5 Californians do not have broadband services due to a lack of connectivity, which we hope many of you will be able to help with, as well as affordability challenges. CDT's Broadband for All program is really California's commitment to closing this digital divide. This means bringing high-speed internet services to unserved and underserved homes, businesses, and communities across the state. To that end, in July of last year, Governor Newsom signed SB 156 into law to construct a statewide open access broadband middle mile network. This infrastructure is needed to support last mile providers in these unserved and underserved communities throughout the state. CDT and its business partners have been able to do a number of things in a very short time frame since this legislation was passed. Since July of last year, CDT held the first MMAC meeting, and a month later, in August. Just a few months after that, in November, we announced the initial 18 projects totaling more than 850 miles across the state. Following analysis and partnership with both the California Public Utilities Commission and Golden State Net, the state's third-party administrator, CDT published the final initial Middle Mile Broadband Initiative, or MMBI, network map this past May. We're glad for the opportunity to collaborate on this project, and certainly small businesses and disabled veteran-owned business enterprises partners will be a big part of the state's success in this once-in-a-lifetime investment. And I'll turn the mic over now to Caltrans Director Tony Tavares. The director and Caltrans have been great partners, really important for this endeavor, and we look forward to hearing more from from them, and from you today regarding how we can proceed. With that, I'll turn the mic over to Director Tavares. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Deputy Director Monroe. It's great honor and it's a pleasure for Caltrans to be partnering with the California Department of Technology on this very noble effort of providing broadband to our underserved or unserved or disadvantaged communities throughout California. So very thrilled to be part of this. And I want to welcome everyone to this outreach that we're having today. Good afternoon. I'm Caltrans Director Tony Tavares, and again, it gives me great pleasure to welcome everyone to this afternoon's Middle Mile Broadband Initiative engagement session. And our state, as Deputy Director Monroe mentioned, our state has long worked to close this digital divide, and we have this opportunity now. During the pandemic, we realized the critical need and the reliance on broadband and the lack of equity among our unserved, our underserved, and our disadvantaged communities throughout California, many of them not having reliable high-speed internet to perform some basic functions. And through this Middle Mile Broadband Initiative, we are now prioritizing bringing reliable, high-speed broadband service to the many disadvantaged, unserved, and underserved communities throughout our state. So we are proud to support, again, the California Department of Technology's efforts to create this Middle Mile network, the physical infrastructure needed to enable internet connectivity for homes, for businesses, and community institutions such as schools and hospitals throughout California. The Middle Mile Broadband Network will serve as the backbone infrastructure to bring high-speed internet to as many Californians as possible. And this initiative is a significant undertaking. We know that. We will need the partnership of all of you, our small, our disabled veteran, and our disadvantaged businesses to help us meet this challenge. We're calling upon all of you to work with us as we go forward. Caltrans is very proud to advocate for small, disadvantaged, and disabled veteran businesses to ensure they are included in these opportunities. And we're very much committed to connecting all of you to many of our prime contractors. Once again, we appreciate this opportunity to share more with you about the Broadband Middle Mile Initiative and how you can engage with us and with any questions you may have. We know this is not an easy task taking this 10,000 mile network on, but we see the vital role that broadband plays in our lives and the value in what we are doing. And with school, work, healthcare increasingly or almost completely available online, Californians' ability to access and use broadband has become the difference between being able to fully engage in life or being cut off. And while Caltrans is mostly known for our roads and highways, we're also about connecting people in other ways. And this is exactly what the Broadband Middle Mile Initiative comes down to connecting people. And as we're doing this afternoon, we hope to be connecting all of you, again, with our prime contractors and connecting you with questions to any answers you may have. So with that, I want to thank you for the opportunity to join us here today and for your continued work together on this important initiative. So I'm going to turn it back over to Adriana, and thank you again.
Thank you, Director Tavares. We appreciate your opening up our event this afternoon, and Deputy Director Monroe, appreciate your opening up this afternoon. I'm also now going to hand it back over to you as we provide a summary for the agenda item to provide a summary of the Middle Mile Broadband Initiative. Mark?
All right, very good, thank you. Yeah, there we go. So the map we see here reflects the 10,000 mile MMBI network that I referenced just a few minutes ago. It's a large public works project that will benefit the whole state. As you can see, it pretty much goes everywhere. It was developed in partnership with, as I noted, with the CPUC and Golden State Net to connect the unserved and underserved communities throughout the state. As Director Tavares and I have both noted, As most I think will have realized at this point, especially after the past 3 years, broadband has gone from being just an amenity to basic utility, something most people will need to participate in the modern economy. We've certainly seen this with the telestudy for schooling, for remote working, for access to medical services and emergency services. The governor and the legislature partnered over the past 2 years to provide a total of $3.8 billion to fund the development of this 10,000-mile statewide open access middle mile network along the state highway system. The majority of these funds are federal funds, which must be under contract by the end of 2024, just 2 years from now, with all work being completed by December of 2026. To this end, CDT has done the following. We've worked with Caltrans to accelerate the permitting processes and timelines, signed procurements for 3,000 miles or more of fiber, conduit, and associated materials such as vaults. We've gone out to contract for up to 7,000 miles of construction. We want to give all Californians an opportunity to benefit from this work, and Caltrans will discuss this more in depth coming up here. And with that, I will turn it over to Caltrans to talk about the project scope and opportunities. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Monroe, and thank you, Director Tavares, for opening the session for us. Good afternoon, all. I'm excited to see such great participation in today's outreach and engagement session. My name is Janice Benton. I'm the Assistant Deputy Director over the Middle Mile Broadband Initiative for Caltrans. And joining me in providing the Caltrans briefing today is Hardeep Takar, our Program Director for the Middle Mile Broadband Initiative. So next slide. So it is a pleasure to be here to talk about the Middle Mile Broadband Initiative and the ambitious effort to promote the digital equity and inclusion. Today is about sharing information about this opportunity and making sure you have the background on this initiative. What is the project? What is the type of work? And how you can engage in these activities. This initiative is a significant undertaking, as was shared earlier. And as Director Tavares also said, we'll need the partnership of our small and disadvantaged businesses to meet this challenge. Through this initiative, we are taking a comprehensive and long-term approach to tackling broadband infrastructure deficiencies, connecting Californians and meeting the broadband infrastructure needs. So next slide. And so as Mr. Monroe shared, the full system design map for the Broadband Middle Mile Initiative includes 10,000 miles of proposed build that spans the entire state. To put this in perspective, Caltrans owns and operates about 15,000 centerline miles of highways. And with this initiative, we are adding broadband to almost 2/3 of the state highway system. This infrastructure will bring the high-speed broadband service to the unserved and underserved communities. So next slide. The Broadband Middle Mile Initiative also has an aggressive timeline to meet the 10,000-mile network goal and ensure we're maximizing the use of the federal dollars. It's funded through the Federal American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, with the Treasury Department funds that requires the dollars to be encumbered by December 2024, and all of the projects have to be closed out with all the funds used by December 2026. So we're working closely with the California Department of Technology, the lead agency and project owner, to ensure we're prepared to navigate any challenges or potential issues. And now I will hand it over to Hardeep Takar, our Program Director for Caltrans, to share more details on how we plan to deliver the projects.
Thank you, Janice. Good afternoon, everyone. As Janice and Mark and Director Tavares provided the introduction, the Broadband Middle Mile Initiative is an example of how Caltrans is not doing business as usual. We have been given flexibility to accomplish this 10,000-mile goal in the standard project delivery process, which is linear, with each project development phase being allocated and then completed. Instead, we are streamlining the delivery process to create efficiencies in design, permitting, and contracting, which allows for these pre-construction processes to be completed concurrently. Next slide, please. To install the conduit and fiber optic cable, the work will involve using plowing, trenching, and trenchless installation construction methods, typically 6 to 12 inches wide and 24 to 42 inches in depth, depending on the site conditions. Now, details include trenching on roadside, trenching in pavement, shoulder, and plowing. The work will include building 21,000 walls every 2,500 feet approximately to pull fiber, and building splice walls located every 15,000 feet along the network to serve as connection points to allow local access to broadband providers. We will also be building approximately over 200 concrete network hub shelters for fiber optic cable signal regeneration, which will be strategically positioned every 50 miles along the right-of-way, where buried fiber optic cable is transferred above ground to connect with transceiver devices to boost and enhance data signals. So that generally covers the overall scope of the construction work. Next slide, please. So plowing, the construction means and methods, we'll be getting into a little bit of details over that. So plowing involves using a vibratory plow to create a narrow slit in the soil as the plow moves quickly, resulting in minimal soil disturbance and requiring an effortless cleanup following the operation. Applications will typically include areas where installation is required in a soil surface that includes an uneven, wet, dry terrain. We have a tight schedule, a long haul, and will require restoration following completion of the work.
Deep. This
Yeah.
is Nick. Is there any ability for you to adjust your mic? You just went out a little bit. Those last couple sentences were hard to hear.
Okay. Let me just see if I can. Is this just doing a mic check? Is this better, Nick?
This is better.
Okay, thank you. I'll just repeat the last part. So for plowing, applications generally include areas where installation is required in a soil surface that includes an uneven, wet, dry terrain. We have a tight schedule, a long haul, and will require restoration following completion of work. Next slide, please. Traditional trenching is common for cross-country installations and may affect traffic movement and is slower than plowing. Trenching pavement will be allowed in narrow trenches on shoulder and pavement to overcome width and depth limitations encountered at locations where we need to avoid impacts to environmental resources and overcome right-of-way restrictions. Next slide, please. This slide illustrates microtrenching, which is also a type of trench in pavement, cutting a narrow trench, typically 3 inches to 6 inch wide in pavement, as covered in the previous slide. This illustration shows its use in local streets or in residential neighborhoods. Next slide, please. Horizontal drilling, directional drilling applications may include long hauls over most terrains, including rocky ground conditions, overpasses, embankments, side hill, and river crossings. Operations will need to consider an entrance and exit pits, pilot hole, reaming, and swab passes, a sound curtain for noise mitigation, and site restoration when work is completed. Next slide, please. This slide lists the typical equipment and materials used in the horizontal directional drilling operations. Next slide, please. For trenchless installation using jack and bore operations, typical applications include roadways and railroads crossings when a casing is required, i.e. when horizontal directional drilling is not feasible. Similar to horizontal drilling operations, we'll need to consider entrance and exit pits, pilot holes, reaming, and swab passes, pipe casing, and the site restoration when work is completed. Next slide, please. With the middle mile broadband projects, there will be state furnished materials that will be shipped directly to the project site locations. California Department of Technology has a contract in place to procure the materials listed on this slide, as well as a logistics contract to coordinate between the supplier and the construction contractors. Next slide, please. The bill for the middle mile broadband network will be delivered through either job order contracts, approximately 50 to 100 miles, or a construction manager general contractor contracting methods, approximately about 2,000 to 3,000 miles of the network is planned for contracting through the construction manager general contracting method. Next slide, please. So we will be, as we cover through the job order contracting and the construction manager general contracting methods, I'll be going over the contracting methods.
Hardeep, your audio just went out. I'm not sure what shifted, but you were sounding very clear, and now you're.
I'm sorry. I'll repeat myself. Yeah, thank you. So I'll be covering over the next few slides the job order contracting and the construction manager general contracting methods, and the small business and the disabled veteran business enterprise and minority-owned business opportunities in the next few slides. Next slide, please. So what is job order contracting? This is a new delivery method for Caltrans. These procedures and the bidding processes may be different compared to other Department of Transportations and agencies' job order contracting procedures. This is an on-call construction services contract where construction work and performance is determined by issuing work orders with the contractor during a fixed period of time. Caltrans awards the JOC, the Job Order Contracting Master Agreement, to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. A job order contract master agreement is 12 months. It's a 12-month agreement with an option of extending for up to 2 12-month periods upon mutual agreement between the department and the contractor. Work orders are then issued as an individual construction contract, which identifies specific locations and items of work. Next slide, please. Caltrans, CDT, California Department of Technology, and Department of General Services work together to issue an addendum with a 25% small business and 3% disabled veteran business enterprise target. The addendums to the invitation for a bid for the 5 regional job order contracts aims to facilitate the use of small business enterprises and disabled veteran business enterprises. The invitation for bids require the contractor to develop a comprehensive plan that fully outlines the contractor's commitment to meet the state's goal. The invitation for bids require the contractor to report quarterly on their small business and disabled veteran business enterprise utilization progress relative to this plan. Next slide, please. Currently, there are 5 regional job order contracts that are being advertised, which are posted on the Cal eProcure website. If you have specific questions regarding the job order contracts, please submit a bidder's inquiry through the Cal eProcure website. Next slide, please. We will also be using the construction manager general contractor procurement method. This will involve procuring construction manager during the environmental or the design phase based on best qualifications. The construction manager provides input and services during the design phase, also known as pre-construction services. If price is agreed to, the construction manager becomes the general contractor. If the fair and reasonable price is not agreed to, the project will be advertised. Now, we will collaborate and partner with the construction manager general contractor for each work package on subcontracting opportunities, including for small businesses and disabled veteran business enterprises. Next slide, please. In support of this effort, there are currently 5 construction manager general contracts being advertised, which are posted on the Cal eProcure website, as shown on the slide. Next slide, please. Additionally, we're working to advertise an additional 4 construction manager general contracts opportunities. These opportunities will be posted on the Caltrans's Look Ahead, and when advertised, will be posted on the Cal eProcure website. Again, information presented and discussed today are not binding. For information that contractors can rely upon, please submit a proposer inquiry questions, also known as bidder inquiries, as noted in the invitation for bid. We appreciate the opportunity to share information with you about the Broadband Middle Mile Initiative and how you can engage. And we are relying on our small business partners to help provide the diverse trade talents needed on these projects. And thank you, and we look forward to working with you. I'll pass it on back to Adriana. Thank you.
Thank you, Hardeep. We are going to talk about outreach and engagement. So I want to introduce Michelle Lopez Hardy with the Caltrans Office of Civil Rights. Joining her will also be Alex McCracken with the California Capital Procurement Technical Assistance Center, and Will McClure with the California Black Chamber of Commerce. Michelle?
Thank you, Adriana. Good afternoon, everybody. As Adriana mentioned, my name is Michelle Lopez Hardy. I'm one of the office chiefs here in Caltrans Office of Civil Rights. Next slide. So part of the responsibilities within the 3 units that I manage here in the Office of Civil Rights is outreach. And not only does my staff and myself engage in outreach with our small businesses and our DBEs and our external partners, such as the Black Chambers, we have some local district small business liaisons that you'll be meeting today in the breakout room. These local the district small business liaisons, are currently engaging in outreach at the local level. We have one-on-ones that are being scheduled, and those one-on-one meetings are happening. Our DSBLs are also working with our local partners to do some outreach and let them know of the middleman broadband projects. And in addition to that, with our local small business development centers and our PTAC, our procurement and technical advisement centers. So your local district small liaison is really your first point of contact in terms of the work going on for the middle mile broadband network at the local level. Next slide. As we progress through this outreach webinar, we are going to have a couple of tools that we're bringing to the table. Again, one of them is the district small business liaisons. The table that you're looking at right now, it has our JOCs broken up by region on the left-hand side of the screen. The corresponding districts that fall within those JOCs are in the next column. And then the corresponding district small business liaison is in that middle column. And then further are the broadband advisors in each district within each JOC region. So these Caltrans staff, as I mentioned, are your local contacts for questions surrounding middle mile broadband network projects. We have in our prior webinar, Adriana, we were able to put a link in the chat to the small business liaisons contact information. I'm hoping that's something that we can do at this webinar as well. Perfect, thank you. Next slide. So in the spirit of bringing tools and education to our small business and DBE communities, we have procurement assistant technical centers that provide a wealth of services and information for small businesses and DBE businesses, including DVBE. And so the procurement assistant technical centers help pursue work for the government, not just state, but local and federal. And we have a guest speaker here today, Ashley McCracken, that's going to provide some intimate information about the Procurement Assistant Technical Centers and what they can do for you. Next slide. So it is my pleasure to present Alex McCracken from the California Capital PTAC here to discuss the services that PTAC has to offer. Alex?
Thank you very much. And thank you, Caltrans, for giving us the opportunity to talk to not only your primes, but also your small businesses. So my name is Alex McCracken. I am one of the procurement counselors with the California Capital PTAC. Next slide, please. And so California Capital PTAC actually works under the umbrella of the California Capital Financial Development Corporation. And so we're actually one of 3 pillars, all working with small businesses and all working to support small businesses. So one of our pillars is our business loans pillar. And again, they are a different sector than the government contracting, but they help small businesses and in financial literacy and also talking to them about how to gain capital and how to go after business loans. And then on second pillar is our Women's Business Center. Now, don't get confused by the name, okay? Our Women's Business Center actually assists any type of business who is needing assistance in regards to starting a business. So like your business plan, marketing, anything like that, okay? But my favorite pillar is the government contracting pillar because that is the PTAC's pillar, okay? And so as said before, we are the California Capital Procurement Technical Assistance Center. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are and what we do over the next few slides. So next slide, please. So there's 300 local PTAC offices nationwide, okay? Each PTAC has their own territory. And our particular PTAC, we support 16 counties. So Butte, Colusa, Sacramento, Yolo, those are some of them. Now, if you do not see your area under our particular PTAC, what you can do is you can go to the link on the screen, http://aptac-us.org. All of the PTACs are under the APTAC Association, and that's the American PTAC Association. Okay, there is a map on that website that you can click on, and it will help you determine what particular PTAC services your area. Next slide, please. Now, what do we do as a PTAC? We help you perform. First of all, we help you prepare to go after government contracting. Okay. We do that by certification, helping you guide you through the certification process. I do want to let everybody know we are not a certifying agency. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few slides. We also help you pursue government contracting. So we help you find bids. We walk you through the bid process. We do provide a high-level overview of your proposals, okay, and your bid documents. And then when you win the bid, if and when you win the bid, we also can help with some high level questions in regards to performing on government contracts. So if you want to register for our services, which by the way are at no cost to you because we're under a grant with the Department of Defense. So, but you can register for our services on the link on the screen. So let's get a little bit deeper. Next slide, please. These are all of the services that we help you with, okay? Like I said, we can help you with certification. We can help you search for contract opportunities. We can also go through past and current and future information. So we can pull up future trends, future forecasts for federal and state government. Okay, we can pull up past contracting information, contracting dollars, who's buying what you're selling, who's getting those contracts. Okay, so we can help you with competitor analysis. We can also help you with just the overall how do I go after government contracting, because we all know that government contracting it can be frustrating, it can be bureaucratic. But once you get those contracts, it also can be life-changing. And we're here to help you translate that government communication. Okay. And again, none of this, there is no cost for this because we are under a grant. Next slide, please. So over our last period of performance, which was August 1st, 2021 through July 31st, 2022, there were 3,524 government contracts that were awarded to our active California Capital PTAC clients. And by the way, those were prime contracts. Okay, so those awards totaled $127 million in 1 year. So let's break it down just a little bit. So contracts that were awarded by federal agencies, there are 485 prime contracts. So that equals about $61.1 million that our active California Capital PTAC clients received in contracts. 3,039 prime contracts were awarded, which equals out to about $65.8 million, okay, in 1 year. So yes, there is money to go after, and there is money to go after and to get, okay? It's work, okay? I'm not gonna sit here and say it's really easy because it is work. And all of the resources that you're gonna see today, we're here to help you. We are here to guide you through the process. You are here to do the work, and it is work. But again, it is also very satisfying when you get those awards. Next slide, please. So again, we're here to help you secure your necessary state registrations, secure your necessary federal registrations and your certification, women-owned small business, DVBE, small business in general, okay? The federal veterans, small business veterans certification, HubZone. We're here to help you with that. We're here to help you identify bid opportunities. We're here to help you with your marketing and your capability statement. Okay, you're going to learn a lot about capability statement. If you already haven't heard that term, you're going to hear about that term throughout a lot of these outreach events. Okay, whether it's a prime outreach event, whether it is an agency outreach event, they're going to be asking for your capability statements. We can help you with that. We can also help you in forecasting. Again, what's coming down the pipeline on the federal level and on the state level, and sometimes also on the local level. Okay, we can help you with proposal preparation. We do not write your proposals for you, but we can review them just to make sure you haven't missed anything. Okay, next slide. So how do we do all of that? We do that by PTAC workshops. We host a variety of different workshops. We host how to do business with the federal government. We host SAM.gov. If you're wanting to work with the federal government as a prime, you have to get registered on SAM.gov. That can be a process, okay? We also host some of the workshops that talk about acquisition.gov. That's the federal forecasting. We're here to help you break it down and understand what's coming down the pipeline. We also host usaspending.gov. What's currently in the pipeline? What agencies, or I'm sorry, what primes have already won awards and are looking for subs, okay? And how much money is there out there for subs? Because as we all know, sub dollars are just as great as prime dollars, okay? Now, the other thing that we have is it's called the Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer Workshop. For any of you who have an innovative idea, come to our workshop. And by the way, all of these are online. And this is specifically for our innovative construction folks, IT folks, anybody like that. Okay, we also have a partnership with Govology, which is an online learning management system. You can get there's about 150 online courses that talk about proposal writing, costing, marketing to governments and government agencies. Okay, they normally run from anywhere from $75 to $200. When you register with us, we give you your unique code and you get it for no cost. Okay, next slide, please. And then we also partner with our resources, okay, resource partners. So we co-host workshops with the DoD, Department of Defense, Small Business Administration, Bureau of Reclamation, DGS, Caltrans, CAL FIRE, Sac County, SMUD, Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency, SAC-RT. We also co-host with a lot of different primes too. Okay, All of these workshops and webinars, again, no cost. You can register for them on our calendar or on our calendar, which you can click on the link when you get the slide deck. Next slide, please. Okay, for those of you who are manufacturers, okay, this is specifically for you guys. Okay, the Made in America domestic preference. If you have any questions in regards to any of the waivers, please reach out to the Made in America office. They can answer all of those questions. Okay, next slide. Okay, so what's the process to engage with us? Now we have a small team. We're small, but we're mighty. Okay, most of us, so there's actually 3 full-time procurement counselors. All of us have been in the industry, whether it's on the client side, whether it's as a small business ourselves, or whether it's as a prime, or all 3. And we've been doing it for anywhere from 25 to 35 years. Okay, so we've been doing this for a long time. And we have been on the business development side also. Okay, so you can register on the link on the screen. Once you're registered, you will be assigned a PTAC counselor. Okay, we try our best to reach out to you within about 48 hours after you've registered. Okay, we will reach out to you, determine what you're looking for when you're working with PTAC. What exactly do you want to accomplish? Because we are about progression. Okay, and then we're also going to talk about your business as a whole and your background and your experience. And again, how do you want to progress? Okay, and I know I keep saying this over and over and over and over again, but again, no cost to you. So we can help you get prepared to go after not only this government contract and government contracts, but also the federal, the state, and the local. Next slide. So again, we're here to help you prepare for, pursue, and perform on government contracts. So just register with us and we will walk you through the process and translate government contracting communication. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you very much for coming in today and sharing all the wonderful services that the PTACs provide. I hope our audience takes advantage of all of the information that you provided today.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Will McClure from the California Black Chamber of Commerce, and he is going to be presenting on a matchmaking tool and some of the intricacies of that tool. And then we have some information in terms of small business certification with DGS that I believe Will is going to share with the audience as well. Will?
Thank you, Michelle, and thank everyone for having us. My contact information is there on the board for you guys to contact us if you need to. Next slide, and I'll go right into what we're here to talk about today. So I get excited hearing the PTAC briefings because, like we talk about in our small and micro business workshops, those foundational things that she mentioned are critical to success as a business. So we work with both Caltrans and the Department of General Services to conduct how to get registered, how to get certified government procurement workshops. Our mantra is it's simple as 1, 2, 3, register, get certified, and then we provide some winning tips like those PTAC links and technical resources to help you win the bids once the company is prepared. Next, please. Cal eProcure, as has been mentioned several times, is the primary place for the state's marketplace. It is where a firm would go to get small business certification, small business for public works, or if you're a disadvantaged veteran-owned business, that is also the location for registration and eventual certification. Next, please. We use UNSPSC codes when we're doing this process, especially now as we're working on broadband, because the way the state's system is set up, it is designed to use UNSPSC codes to match up the opportunities you see in the projects with the certified firms that are in the state's database. And we'll provide a couple of examples of that going forward. Next, please. That's the quite lengthy link for UNSPSC codes that we've used to find over like 12 to 15,000 of them, not just for this project, but for other projects that state agencies work on and that Caltrans has worked on. So, so that you have that in your tool bag for reference later, we wanted to ensure we provide that link that can be informative and can even help you update your own small business profile if you're looking to add codes. Next. The state's marketplace is on Cal eProcure, and that's where over the next couple of slides, we'll talk really quickly about what the matchmaking process is and how it can be beneficial in the focused outreach that Caltrans and other agencies around the state have begun to engage in. Next. What we did for this project is the same thing that any bidder or potential bidder would do. Essentially, go to Cal eProcure's website. What you see before you are a list of the middle mile broadband initiative projects that are advertised. We just selected the first project on the list for our example today. Next. So that project, as you see before you, had 2 UNSPSC codes. So one of the reasons and the main features of doing this to assist Caltrans is up to now, state agencies sort of hoped that entities were engaged with them, knew about the projects that were coming out. If you're already certified, of course, there's a tickler system that provides updates or notifications when projects comes. But this is a game changer, if you will, for the state, where this focused approach not only alerts certified firms, but has the potential to alert firms that have never done business with Caltrans or any other state agencies of contracting opportunities. Next. We look them up simply by adding that code to the state's database and then querying for both micro, small businesses, public works businesses, and veteran businesses. Next. With the first code, we were able to find the firms that are listed below you, before you, excuse me, and it clearly shows who the firms are, what they're registered to do, and you can actually open up each of those profiles for the firm to show which UNSPSC codes they're certified to operate under. So when primes are looking for subs, they're taking the same approach that the software is taking. Next. The second code from the project, we also looked up in the same manner, just by looking at the 4 business types. And next, it will show the results of those searches where we were able to locate 308 firms that are located based on that UNSPSC code. Next. Because we also want to engage disadvantaged business enterprises that are certified to do work with Caltrans through their federal program, one of the luxuries of the software that we've got and the company we work with is it can also locate entities by querying the California Unified Certification Program database for the DBE program. And then we can cross-reference those codes to corresponding UNSPSC codes, notify those DBEs of the opportunity so that they're aware that the projects are out there and it facilitates bidding. One of my chamber colleagues is on the call with us today. So Katrina will put the link to some upcoming small business registration workshops that the chamber is going to conduct in conjunction with Caltrans for firms that are currently DBE certified, would like an opportunity to participate in the Middle Mile project by becoming state small business, disadvantaged business enterprise certified. Our plan is to conduct those on December 6th, again on December 8th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. We've been working with the Department of General Services and their reps that assist with certification. If we can get firms in the database for the state before December 9th, there's an opportunity for them to certify them in time to bid on the projects that are listed for both December 27th and December 29th. Next, please. And that, again, to cap what we've discussed, what the system really does is at the chamber, we research the codes. We'll go back and take a really close look at all the advertised projects on there to ensure that the UN codes that go with them, we provide to the vendor that we work with. My Business Matches will in turn notify the small and micro businesses of the opportunity. And like the interaction you see going on in the chat pod during today's call, the software essentially does the same thing. It matches up those primes and those subs that can do work on the project, gives them a virtual safe platform to have discussions in, to partner with, so that they can bid when the time comes. We, in turn, turn that information over to Caltrans so that they've got a reservoir of interested firms, and then the matchmaking is set up to occur prior to the bidding commencing on the projects. And Michelle, that concludes our presentation.
All right, thank you, Will. I heard of the 2 additional events to help the dual certification effort. Do we have that information in the chat? I don't know if it's my computer, I'm just not seeing it.
Yes, Katrina dropped the link in the chat pod.
Perfect. Thank you for your time, Will. Appreciate your partnership. Adriana, back to you, and or Scott Adams.
Scott, Michelle, first off, thank you to you and Will and Alex. Always appreciate the update and the information that you all provide. And then to discuss some additional future opportunities, I want to introduce Scott Adams. He is the Deputy Director of the Office of Broadband and Digital Literacy at the California Department of Technology. Scott?
Yeah, thank you, Adriana. And hello, everyone. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here to talk to you about some additional and future opportunities associated with broadband funding in California. As you've heard today, in addition to the opportunities related to the middle mile, wanted to flag that there may also be opportunities with last mile projects that are funded and administered by the PUC, and those funds are intended to complement the middle mile and assist internet service providers and local entities to develop last mile solutions. Next slide, please. I wanted to also highlight that, as many of the previous speakers have said, that state's Broadband for All program is quite ambitious to bring broadband to every homeschool business and library in the state. And because of the size of our state, both from a geographic standpoint and population, that's a really tall order. So the state is doing everything we can to leverage federal dollars to help achieve the goals of Broadband for All. What we really wanted to highlight is that the Federal Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which was passed earlier this year, allocated or invest $65 billion to support broadband deployment and adoption and promote digital equity in the states. There's 2 big funds, the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment, or BEAD program, that has a total funding pool of $42 billion, actually almost $42.5 billion. And then the Digital Equity Planning, Capacity, and Competitive Grants that are combined $2.75 billion. Next slide. And so on these programs, the Department of Technology is going to be the administering entity for the Digital Equity Planning Program. The Public Utilities Commission is going to be the administering entity for the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program. And for the state to get our statutory allocations from those funding pools, both entities are required to develop plans over the next years to determine how that funding is spent. And part of the planning process is going to include extensive statewide and local engagement and really soliciting input from partners like you on how those funds should be spent. And as I mentioned, when both plans are completed, they'll be integrated and unlock the hundreds of millions of additional dollars to achieve broadband for all. Next slide, please. What we'd like to highlight on the, particularly on the digital equity plan side, that there is the Digital Equity Act prioritizes investment for 8 covered populations, and these are called out in statute. So it's individuals living in covered households where the income is at or below 150% of the federal poverty level, aging individuals, incarcerated individuals, veterans, individuals with disabilities, individuals with language barriers, and that includes English language learners and individuals with low levels of literacy, and then members of a racial or ethnic minority group, and those living in rural areas. Next slide, please. So we're actually here to kind of issue a call to action. The planning process we're going to be engaging in over the next year is going to include a statewide planning group, development of outcome area working groups to really sync up with the state's other priorities, designing and implementing a statewide digital equity survey, conducting local and regional outreach events, and then ongoing statewide public engagement via virtual forums and through the Broadband for All portal and regular monthly email updates. Next slide, please. What we wanted to flag is we know that this is the small business and the DVB community are dispersed throughout the state. We will be in concert with PUC hosting 20 local and regional engagement events throughout the state. We would definitely encourage you all to participate in those events because we'd like to hear from you and get your thoughts on both how the state should develop its digital equity plan and also some of the barriers to digital equity and how those funds should be spent. Next slide, please. And so what we're really interested in, and like I said, this is a call to action, is to please share with us how we can partner and align efforts with you. We'd love to have you participate in this process with us and be a voice for small business and DVBEs. We've created a participation form on the Broadband for All portal where you can go and indicate how you'd like to participate in the process. And thank you very much. That concludes my presentation. We hope and look forward to working with you over the next year.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that update. And I'm going to apologize. I seem to be having some Wi-Fi issues this afternoon. So if we could go to the next, perfect. Breakout sessions. Some folks may be more familiar with the Caltrans districts. And so as you can see on this slide here, the Caltrans districts are divided up into 5 regions. So we've got region 1, which is Caltrans districts 1, 2, and 3. We have region 2, which are districts 4, 10, and a portion of district 9. Region 3 includes that other portion of district 9 and districts 5 and 6. Region 4 are Caltrans districts 7 and 12, and then region 5 are districts 8 and 11. So we're going to move into the breakout sessions.
All right, we are back. We have everybody back from the breakout rooms. I greatly appreciate it. Hopefully in that amount of time, you guys were able to grab that chat message as well. So that being said, we're going to be able to look at the questions and answers. It's kind of where we're at right now. There is a Q&A tab that you can put some questions into. It's different than the chat. So if you're on a full desktop, bottom right, there's a triple dots right by the chat. It should say questions and answers in that sub menu there. We'll try to facilitate accordingly. Right now, there's only 3 questions in particular, but I think that one of them was to get into a room or region 2. So that being said, how do you want to proceed, Adriana?
So first off, I just want to note there was a question earlier in the chat, and as has been stated, I've had some Wi-Fi issues, so I don't know who posted that one about insurance requirements, but there is a response to that referencing what's included in the IFB, and it talks about the insurance requirements there. So I just wanted to note that one. Also, if there are any primes, we know that James Waller with Flatiron is on. But if there are any other primes who want to indicate that they're on and place that they're anticipating bidding, if they want to put which regions they're expecting to bid on, you're welcome to place that information in the chat. But I know that
you're cutting in and out. I'm sorry. I think you missed a couple of times.
Mr. Waller,
do you want me to just go ahead and
James Waller,
sorry, Adriana, for cutting you off, but you're cutting in and out. Can't hear you. Right. I'm sorry.
Adriana. Hold on.
Flatiron kindly agreed to respond to a question that was James, I hand the floor over to you. Okay.
Okay.
So, not sure what came across there, and I apologize again for my connection issues. But there was a question from one of the groups. If I can get a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay. Well, I'm not going to speak for much longer. I think there was a question in one of the groups about whether James Waller, who's with Flatiron, would speak to what kind of what they're looking for in subcontractors. And James, I've unmuted you.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, fantastic. So on the middle mile broadband projects, I know it's been said that CDT and Caltrans is supplying the materials, but those are the major materials that go with the outside plant, the conduits, the fittings, etc., and the fiber optic cable. But there are thousands of other materials that'll be procured on this project, whether it's backfills, whether it's restoration, SWIPy materials, and then all the subcontract items that you would typically see, right? Striping, clearing and grubbing, restoration. Trucking is going to be a huge component to this, but even down to professional services, surveying, logistics, as-builts. There's significant as-built requirements on the project with electronic plans that are produced, and this is a big program that definitely cannot be done by a single prime. It needs to have qualified subcontractors and suppliers, and I see several on here. And So we are bidding all the regions as a prime. And what we would ask is if you reach out to us, please tell us what region you're interested in, what scopes of work match up to your strengths, and if it because it is a job order contract, that makes the bonding a lot easier, and we can certainly work with bonding and insurance requirements, if that answers the question.
Appreciated. Thanks, James. Adriana, I know that you popped back on to another account. Are you back with us?
I guess, do I get a thumbs up for that you can hear me? Perfect.
Loud and clear. Looking good.
So appreciate everybody's understanding. I will just reiterate why this project is so important. I see a couple of hands up. And James, thank you again for letting us put you on the spot. And you're speaking to kind of what Flatirons and what you're looking for. Let's see, I have a hand from Aaron Morgan. Are you able to unmute, Nick?
I asked I sent the request to unmute.
Sorry
Aaron,
about that.
okay.
Thank you so much, Adriana. I wanted to make sure that a question got addressed that was brought up in the Region 1 breakout room. It was regarding whether primes and subs for these JOCs need to be signatory to a union to participate. And I was hoping that, I don't know if that's something that we can comment on here, if that would need to go through the bidder inquiry process, but I did want to make sure because I imagine there's quite a few people who are curious about that point.
Yeah, Aaron, for that question, I would, folks should go ahead and submit the bidder inquiry for it. And that would just be going on to Cali Procure. When you go on to those, when you go into the different contracts for the JOCs, you'll see somebody's contact's name there, and you just submit that question to them. So appreciate your flagging that for us, Aaron, but would ask for folks to go ahead and submit that inquiry. And then let's see, I have a hand from Pete Varma. Pete? Oh.
Thank you. Okay. Question was for James Waller. Will Flatiron provide, I'm a commodity construction material supplier. You spoke on the last previous call also addressing, lots of materials to procure beside the fiber and conduit. Will Flatiron provide a list of materials that you will need for this project, or will it come from your subs? Thanks.
Can I answer that?
That's what you all are planning. So I don't, I don't see an issue with your answering.
Okay. So with the JOC process, it's very difficult to get quantity-based materials.
Okay.
And because they're kind of an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity type procurement, if you reach out, I'd be more than glad to work with you and the rest of the subs on how to scale or create a proposal that's scalable for the individual material requirements.
Okay, great. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. So should we just reach out to you on email?
I'll put it in there again.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so I know we're at about time. I know we have a few hands up. If folks want to place their questions in the chat, we can circle back with folks and provide responses. I do apologize that we're not able to get to everybody's questions this afternoon, but appreciate everybody being on. Mark, if you want to wrap up today's engagement session.
All right, very good. Yeah, thank you very much, Adriana. I want to thank you all for participating today. Really appreciate all the presenters. I think you did a great job really articulating the significant opportunities this project carries with it. And also really want to extend our thanks to the participants for your interest in partnering on this important project. We hope this has been useful to our small business and DBBE communities and helping to increase understanding of the project and helping connect to other contractors so that we can all partner on this project in a way that benefits all Californians. So again, really appreciate everybody's participation and effort in putting this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Again, thank you all. Appreciate your making time for us today, and look forward to continued outreach and engagement efforts.